All right, hello everyone, and welcome to another Tuesday evening. As you know, Tuesday evenings we're carrying on with what we usually normally do at the morning lessons. So we're going to carry on today with Shamati, one of the Shamati articles, and this Shamati one is number 59, concerning the staff and the serpent. So we'll get started straight away. If you have any questions, as usual, please feel free to ask. And what we want to do is, read the article, clarify it for ourselves, and get as much from it as possible. As you know, all of the Shamati articles are concerning a person's inner work. So the more we try to get some impression as to what I need to do with my thoughts, desires, intentions, how I need to bring all those things together according to the article, the more we'll get out of it. So let's see. Concerning the staff and the serpent, this is Shamati 59. So if you have any questions, you can also raise a hand. Since we're on Zoom, we can all have a chat. And Moses answered and said, but they will not believe me, etc. And the Lord said to him, what is it in your hand? And he said, a staff. And he said, cast it on the ground. And it became a serpent, and Moses fled from it. We should interpret that there are no more than 2 degrees, either holiness or the Sitra Achra called the other side. There is no intermediary state, but the same staff itself becomes a serpent if thrown to the ground. In order to understand this, we will first bring the words of our sages that he had put to his divinity on trees and on rocks. Trees and rocks are called things of inferior importance, and especially in this manner, he placed his divinity. This is the meaning of the question, what is it in your hand? A hand means attainment, from the words, if a hand attains. A staff means that all these attainments are built on the discernment of inferior importance, which is faith above reason. Faith is regarded as having inferior importance and as lowliness. One appreciates things that clothe within reason. However, if one's mind does not attain it, but resists one's mind, and then one should say that faith is of superior importance to one's mind. It follows that at that time, he lowers his mind and says that what he understands within reason, that he resists the path of the Creator. Faith is more important than his own mind. This is because all the concepts that contradict the path of the Creator are worthless concepts. Rather, they have eyes, but they will see not. They have ears, but they will hear not. It means that he annuls everything he hears and sees. This is called going above reason. And thus, it seems to a person as lowness and smallness, infancy. However, with the Creator, faith is not considered lowliness, since one who has no other choice but to take the path of faith considers faith as lowliness. However, the Creator could have placed his holiness on something other than trees and rocks. Yet, he chose this way, called faith, specifically. He must have chosen it because it is better and more successful. You find that for him, faith is not regarded as being of inferior importance. On the contrary, specifically, this path has many merits, but it appears lowly in the eyes of the creatures. If the staff is thrown to the ground and one wants to work with a higher discernment, meaning within reason, degrading the above reason, and this work seems low. One's Torah and work immediately become a serpent. This is the meaning of the primordial serpent. And this is the meaning of anyone who is proud. The Creator tells him, he and I cannot dwell in the same abode. The reason is, as we have said, that he has placed his divinity on trees and rocks. Hence, if one throws the discernment of the staff to the ground and raises oneself to work with a higher attribute, this already is a serpent. There is no middle. It is either a serpent or divinity, since all the Torah and the work that one had from the discernment of a staff, all has now entered the discernment of a serpent. It is known that the Sitra Achra, which is the other side, has no lights. Hence, in corporeality too, the will to receive has only deficiencies, but not satisfaction of the deficiency. And the vessel of reception remains forever in deficit without fulfillment, because one who has 100 wants 200, etc. and one does not die with half one's wish in one's hand. This extends from the upper roots, the root of the shell, the klipa, which is the vessel of reception, and they have no correction during the 6,000 years, which is the restriction is placed upon them, hence they do not have lights and abundance. This is why they entice one to draw light to their degree, and the lights that one receives by being adhered to holiness, since abundance shines in holiness or divinity. When they entice one to draw abundance to their state, they receive that light. Thus they have dominion over a person, meaning they give him satisfaction in the state he is in, so he will not move from here. Hence, one cannot go forward through this dominion, since he has no need for a higher degree. Since he has no need, he cannot move from his place, even a slight movement. In that state, he is unable to discern if he is advancing in holiness or the other way around. This is because the Sitra Achra gives him power to work more strongly, since now he is within reason, and can therefore work not in a state of lowliness. It follows that thus one would remain in the authority of the Sitra Achra. In order for a person to not remain in the authority of the Sitra Achra, the Creator made the correction that if one leaves the discernment of the staff, he immediately falls into the state of a serpent. He immediately falls into a state of failures and has no power to strengthen unless he accepts the discernment of faith called lowliness once more. It follows that the failures themselves cause one to take upon himself the discernment of a staff once more, which is the discernment of faith above reason. This is the meaning of what Moses said, but they will not believe me. It means that they will not want to take upon themselves the path of working in faith above reason. When the Creator told him, what is it in your hand? A staff. Cast it on the ground, and then promptly it became a serpent. It means that there is no intermediary state between a staff and the serpent. It is rather to know if one is in divinity or in the other side, Sitra Achra. It turns out that in any case, they do not have any other choice but to assume the discernment of faith above reason, called a staff. This staff should be in the hand. The staff should not be thrown. And this is the meaning of the verse, the staff of Aaron budded. It means that all the budding he had in serving the Creator was based specifically on Aaron's staff. This means that he wanted to give us a sign to know if we're walking on the path of truth or not. He gave us as a sign to know only the basis of the work, meaning what basis is one is working on. If one's basis is the staff, it's holiness, and if the basis is within reason, this is not the way of achieving holiness. However, in the work itself, meaning in the Torah and in the prayer, there is no distinction between one who serves him and one who does not serve him. This is because there it is to the contrary. If the basis is within reason, meaning based on knowing and receiving, the body gives fuel for work, and he can pray and study more persistently and more enthusiastically, since it is based on within reason. However, when one takes the path of holiness, whose basis is bestowal and faith, he needs much more preparation, so the holiness will shine for him. Without preparation, the body does not give one the strength for work. And one must always exert extensively, since man's root is reception and within reason. Therefore, if this work is based on earthliness, it can always be fine. But if the basis for the work is on the discernment of bestowal and above reason, he needs perpetual efforts so as not to fall into his root of reception and within reason. One must not be distracted for a moment, or he will fall into his root of earthiness, called dust, as it is written, for dust you are, and to dust shall you return. And that was after the sin of the tree of knowledge. One examines if one is advancing in divinity, or to the contrary, since another god is sterile and does not bear fruit. The Zohar gives us the sign that specifically on the basis of faith, called the staff, is one imparted fruitfulness and multiplication in the Torah. This is the meaning of the staff of Aaron budded. The budding and growing comes specifically through the staff. Therefore, as one rises from one's bed daily and washes oneself to purify his body from the filth of the body, so one should wash oneself from the filth of the klippah to examine himself if his quality of staff is incompleteness. This should be a perpetual examination, and if one is distracted from it, he immediately falls to the authority of the Sitra Achra called self-reception. One immediately becomes enslaved to them, as it is known that the light makes the kli. Hence, as much as one works in order to receive, to that extent, he needs only a desire to receive for himself and becomes remote from matters concerning bestowal. Now we can understand the words of our sages, be very, very humble. What is that fuss that it says very, very? It is because one becomes needy of people by having been honored once. At first, one receives the honor not because he wanted to enjoy the honor, but for other reasons, such as the glory of the Torah, etc. One is certain of this scrutiny since he knows about himself and that he has no desire for honor whatsoever. It follows that it is reasonable to think that he is permitted to receive the honor. However, it is still forbidden to receive, since the light makes the kli. Hence, after he has received the honor, he becomes needy for the honor. He is already in its dominion, and it is hard to break free from the honor. By this, one acquires one's own reality, and it is known hard to annul before the Creator, since through the honor, he has become a separate entity. And in order to obtain dvekut, adhesion with the Creator, one must annul one's reality completely, hence the very, very. Very is that it is forbidden to receive honor for oneself, and the other very is that even when one's intention is not for himself, it is still forbidden to receive. Right, so quite a bit of a mouthful of an article there, but it's a good one, as we went through it a few times during the morning lesson. So basically, was he talking about two states? One holding the staff, the other one's a serpent. And apparently, let me just get back to the beginning so we can take it from there. Let's see this. And apparently we have to start, although we want to attain holiness, and although we don't know what it is, we have to start from somewhere. And that somewhere, apparently, according to the article, is in the beginning of the paragraph, as he says, cast the staff onto the ground, and it became a serpent, and Moses fled from it. So that's actually the point of starting our work in the wisdom of Kabbalah. So if we want to advance, what we need to do, because we don't know what bestowal is, right? So we don't know what it is. We have no idea of what bestowal and love of others are in the study, but we do have an inclination with a dot in the heart. So we want to discover something, we want to do something spiritual, but we don't have any idea what it is. And so in order to build something that we don't have any idea about, we're going to have to start from our level. And the whole idea of the serpent is actually seeing the state we are in at this moment. So if we see that we're in our vessels of reception and wanting to do everything for our personal benefit, then if we see that state, then we can say, we're in a bad state, call that the serpent. And from that bad state, we can now start to contemplate. We can then start to think about, well, how am I going to get out of this bad state? So that's already trying to figure out how we can take up the staff into our hands and hold it there. So this is why it says there are only two states. So I'm either going to be in a good state or a bad state. And if I don't know what a good state is, I have to build it. And I can only build it from the current state I'm in. So the most important thing is I have to see what my current state is. Right? Does that make sense? Okay, because if I don't know I'm sick, I'm not going to, think about taking any medicine, right? So, and I don't know what medicines to take either. So this is why in this world we feel bad. So the Creator specifically makes us feel bad, and we have a bad life. It's empty. We can't get any satisfaction. Even if we get what we want, the satisfaction and the pleasure immediately evaporates. So we're left in this dilemma. So in order to build something ongoing, lasting, better, I have to see that the current state I'm in is just not going to work out for me. And if the minute I understand that, then I can begin to think about, well, what can I do opposite to the state that I'm in? And that's where the work begins to become a bit more interesting. So we need to start from darkness. And this is why he said to Moses, well, throw the staff, turns into a snake. And then the Creator says, well, okay, now you know what you look like. You got something to work on. And that's his situation. So he ran away. Why did he run away? Because he saw the evil state he was in, the bad state he was in, and he didn't want to be associated with it. So this is how we're going to move through in all the states as well, in all the degrees of spirituality, because at the end of the day, every degree in spirituality is my desire to receive with some greater coarseness, greater egoism. Right? So whenever I start a degree, I'm just, by default, I'm going to have to see that evil. So if I attain some certain degree in spirituality, and all of a sudden I feel good, instinctively, if I feel good, the desire to receive says, okay, let's stick around here. It feels good. So, but that's going to hinder our progress, right? It's going to hinder our progress. It's going to stop us from progressing. So the Creator has to once again reveal the evil. So we've got this actually kind of play between the Creator and the person there who's advancing in spirituality. Although it appears like the person's always doing the work, it's always against the Creator. So it's like I have to take a step and the Creator has to do a step, and then I have to do a counter step towards the Creator. So we're always doing this kind of like tennis. I'm throwing the ball, he's hitting the ball, I'm hitting the ball, he's hitting the ball, I'm hitting the ball. And in any case, there's only going to be a good state or a bad state. In our world, that's how it is as well. We either feel good or bad. We don't have any other state in our reality either. I can either feel good or bad. If I don't feel anything, that's bad. Why? Because our nature wants to feel good. So we don't have a middle state in our corporeal life either. All right? So there is no, I don't feel good or bad in our corporeal life either. If I don't feel good or bad, that's considered a bad state because I would have liked to have felt good, but I don't. So same in spirituality. We're either going to be in that state or in that state. So how we're going to make a discernment, a decision? Well, we're going to have to attain something, and that something starts with understanding the degree, the full degree of the depth, actually, of what evil is in the current situation we're in. Because if I'm revealing only a little bit, okay, then it's not really going to be the full measure, and I'm not really going to move towards it, right? It's like, it's like in reality, it's like in our world when we make a revolution. How do we make a revolution? Only if the state that I'm in becomes intolerable. Otherwise, I'm not going to move, right? So in our life as well, every time we make a change, a radical change, it's simply because I've been taking a situation, I've been dragging my feet along, not doing anything about it. And then it comes to a point where I say, I just have to get rid of the state, and then I make a move. So same here, every degree has to have a full revelation of serpent. And then on top of that, I can build what's called the staff, which is faith above reason. So I'm either going to go with faith, which is faith above reason, which is being above my desire to receive pleasure for myself, or I'm going to be in that state where I'm receiving for myself. There's no other state. Now, for us, it's a bit of a problem because our nature wants to receive, and we want to receive everything for ourselves. So when the Kabbalists talk about, well, you got to love others and bestow, and that's the way to go kind of thing, it's like, hey, who are you talking to, kindergarten kids? So obviously that's not going to go for us because it's against our nature, so we have to work on it. So by going against our nature, we're beginning to build that staff above the serpent, on top of the serpent. So that is the whole idea. So what we have to do is to make love and bestowal of others more important than love of bestowal for myself. That's it. If we make that more important to us, then we can, at one point, then we can start at certain, even if it's the lowest degree, even if we just started working, that is already something. And that's how we build, just like kids learn how to crawl first, first on their knees, and then they try to get up, and then they start to take little steps, and so on and so on. And same for us. Okay. That's about it. Basically, that's the summary of the whole thing. Any questions? There are 3 questions, 4 questions in the chat. Okay. So let's take a look at the chat then. Okay, Francesco's asking, what is humanity's rod in the coming 2020? Well, they don't have one. They only have the serpent. Actually, the serpent is for us as well. Because humanity isn't revealing that much evil right now. Everybody's like, yeah, well, things are okay. We haven't really seen the big slap we're going to get yet. It's like that documentary, flies perceive reality really slow. So if you want to hit the fly, you're going really fast with your hand to bang it. It sees it coming from a mile away in slow motion. It's like a slow motion movie. So the fly is thinking, oh, he wants to slap me and kill me. So by the time you're trying to get to the fly, for you, it's a split second. But for the fly, it's taking like ages. So he can see it coming, and then he can take off. The difference between us and the fly is we don't see the slap coming. So until we get bashed, it doesn't make it doesn't really resonate with us. So unfortunately, they don't have a rod, but they will need one. And we're going to have to do the explaining, obviously. Somebody has to explain. Is it possible to measure a degree of spirituality? I can only measure things if I have a corresponding opposing degree. So if I don't reveal the evil, I can't really measure what the good is. This is why we've got to start from the evil. This is why humanity has to also. So why are they going gradually towards more and more suffering? Is because they first have to understand the state we're in is not good. Actually, a lot of people on the one hand understand as well, but the general public doesn't. A lot of people understand we're not going towards a good future, but what to do about it is a dilemma on everyone's part because nobody really understands what to do, how to handle it. And the general public, well, if they're having a good day, great. So we have to make sure we see the depth of the evil first, and then I can cover how much good I need to do. And even that is pretty much after I've done the good, because I have to first, just seeing the evil that is not a measurement for the good. The good is when I see the depth of the evil, and to its full extent, I can cover it. I can be above it, so I don't do it again. And then you can actually have some kind of a measurement. Certain states bring pleasure even though we're aware they're bad. So why and how do we get out? So why and how do we get out? Similar to being a slave to Pharaoh. So why and how do we get out? Well, we wouldn't get out unless we feel bad. If I feel good in a situation, why would I want to get out? I can't overcome my desire to receive. You see this happening with drug addicts as well. You know, they have an understanding that it's killing them, but they just can't let it go because they like it. They like it. So even if he understands he's going to die, you know, it's like really, it's crazy if you think about it. So what can you do? The only way to get out of any situation, or the only way to do something against my desire to receive, even the smallest desire to receive, you can't overcome it unless there's an environment that persuades you otherwise. It's the same with corporeal stuff, and you know, AA is a good example. Alcoholics Anonymous. When I was in Australia, I had a friend, and you know, Australians, drinking is like a normal thing there, and sometimes you overdo it. And she was on it quite a bit, and she started going to AA, and the environment helped her get out of it. Okay, so the environment is for corporeal stuff as well. It's really common sense. I just need to change the people I hang out with. So if I change the people I hang out with, and we're all, like going towards a common objective, same with AA, they all want to, leave drinking. They don't want to be alcoholics. And everybody understands, they have some understanding that this is, what they want to and need to do, but they don't have the power to do it on their own. But if they get together, sit in a circle and talk about it, and they explain to themselves, the reasons they want to leave it, how they feel bad, why it wrecked their life and why they don't want to go back there and so on, they increase awareness, don't they? So the minute I'm increasing the awareness by talking about it, I'm already distancing myself. I'm saying, well, I don't want to drink. And, she just couldn't, because she also had a connection with those people every time she went, every Monday evening she was going. She said, I can't drink. We're like on the weekend. And she wouldn't. And, really respected that. Because she got strength from some people, and it worked really well. It's the same thing. This is human nature. So we're just a product of the environment. So if we stick ourselves in a good environment, that's it. You can build the good, and that's it. So the whole process in the wisdom of Kabbalah is also, you guys all know as well, it's the environment. If I build a good environment around me that maintains my thoughts and desires, intentions, and what I want to attain, what I want to get from life, what I want to build from my life, and how I'm going to build it. And that spiritual depiction, that the depiction of spirituality in my mind starts to take form and place in the environment. Then I can begin to kind of work towards that instead of chasing other stuff, which I now determine unnecessary. So what have I done with the help of the environment? I've actually put aside some of the serpents in me. I said, no, I don't want to use those things. I don't want to do things that are like bad for what I want to attain. I don't want to do things that are going to hinder me or slow me down or obstruct me. And I want to just go with what I want to get in life, which is my spirituality, according to, in the wisdom of Kabbalah, that's what we're here for. So, and that's how you can, leave the serpent and pick up the staff. So how are you going to do it all the time? Well, all the time you've got to stick your head in the environment, because this is against our nature, right? So with the difference with AA is because, they want to, with their desire to receive, they want to free themselves from something bad. So they've got power to do it. They've got extra power to do it. We, on the other hand, we don't see a benefit in bestowing to others because there is no concrete evidence. There's no concrete evidence showing me that I'm going to get some benefit from caring for others. You just don't see it that way. So until I begin to understand, and we will, by the way, soon, because we're going to start facing global crises altogether, and we're all going to understand that if we don't deal with this whole thing together, we're all going to end up in a big mess. So this understanding will come to humanity. So by actually understanding that we can't constantly backstab each other to get a better life. So I can't constantly think about, I don't know, wrecking my competition or destroying the other person or to get what I want. If I understand that this cannot go on, then we have something to talk about. And this is what, AA is. They understand that they can't carry on life like this. So they're happy to do it. So humanity will come to the same state. We will understand that we cannot carry on living life in this egoistic matter, in this egoistic manner. Otherwise, we're just going to have a bad and even worse life. So it's the same mentality. Humanity will egoistically want to run away from their egos. There's no other way. Is that how we should perceive our tent, like AA? Why not? We're not in spirituality at the moment. So what do we want to do, though? We want to get out of our egoism. So in order for us to get out of our egos, I mean to care for others. So how am I going to get myself out of egoism towards caring for other people? Egoism, by the way, is, you guys probably know the definition, right? Egoism, according to the Oxford Dictionary, is giving myself more importance compared to other people. So I have an exaggerated importance when I compare myself to other people. So what am I actually doing? Same thing here, right? Staff and serpent. I'm reducing that self-importance. And by doing so, I'm kind of equalizing everybody else's importance as well. So we're like, leveling out, right? So if everybody starts doing that, we start becoming equal. And the reason we want to do that is because we need to come to the understanding that only through this equality, where we begin to take others into consideration, we can have a decent life. Otherwise, we're not going to have a decent life either. So we'll get there gradually, and we'll see that it's through egoism. We'll want to get out of our egoism because of egoism. So it'll be exactly like the serpent. What is the serpent telling us, right? It's showing us the state that we're in. So we will want to get out of that state. Also, our ego will agree, because egoistically, we don't want to be in a bad state either. So if I have to make a compromise, it's like a business deal, right? If I think to myself, if I make this compromise, I'm going to get this. And if I think it's worthwhile, I'm going to sign that contract. So same thing here. So if I'm willing to forfeit my egoism, and then I understand I'm going to have I'm going to be better off, I'm okay with it. So hopefully we'll get to that understanding quickly through small damages, because otherwise it's going to be big damages, because you know how it is in spirituality, right? The lesson isn't over until you learn it. So Sean's asking, so if bad things happen to your loved ones in corporate health, do you pray for them, or do you pray for your own correction? Thanks. Well, we can always keep, I think, all of them in mind. There's nothing wrong with keeping everybody. Every time you pray for other people, that's already a good start, I reckon, because it's already outside of you. But if you're in the 10, put them in the 10 too. Put them into, put your 10 into your thoughts as well. I'll tell you why. We instinctively care for our loved ones, right? Family, kids and stuff. So we're like immediately attached to them. So our love for them is also, this, possessive. It's, they're my family, they're my kids. Also. So we're egoistically also attracted to them. And that's normal. That's how it is. So when studying the wisdom of Kabbalah, we're specifically with people we don't know. Right. So all of a sudden we fall into a 10, And we're thinking, who are these people? Well, we don't know. God knows who they are. So we just fell out of the sky into this little group. And the reason it's designed that way is because I can start to now build a relationship again with people I have no connection with. I've never met them. I don't know them. I've got no past with them. I don't know who they are. So in our normal corporeal life, we wouldn't even be friends with them. We wouldn't. So the Creator life specifically arranges it in such a way so that we can develop with people which we've got no connection with. So if you're in a 10, keep them in your prayer. Obviously, keep the family always in our prayers and thoughts as well. We need to do whatever is necessary for their well-being in corporeality as well. So, we've got to bring them together. We've got to bring the whole thing together. It's like making a cake. I've got to put a bunch of ingredients in there and have a little bit of everything, and then that cake will cook fine in the oven. And that's how it is. The serpent and sword is a ref to rod and Asclepius. Well, the serpent and the staff, right? Not the sword. The staff, yeah. The rod and Asclepius. I don't know rod of Asclepius. I am not sure. I don't know that one. But what we need to do is the serpent and the staff are two discernments inside of us. All right, and there are two things I need to discern. In order for me to discern the serpent, I need to discover the egoism in me. Serpent means I'm using my desire to receive for myself. So it means I don't care about you, and I will sting you, and I will poison you, and I will kill you if I need to get what I want to get. And this is how the world works. Right? Competition, egoism, everybody wants to be on top of each other. You can see it with everybody. From sports to celebrities, from politicians to businessmen, everybody wants to be on top of the other in one way or another. So the serpent is the discovery of our evil nature, and the staff is what we need to be, the opposite of that state. And from the time you throw it and you pick it up is the time span of your work in the wisdom of Kabbalah, so you can correct that state. And that's how we can call it. But these are both states that we individually have to go through. And the only way we can go through it individually is if I'm in that environment that facilitates the kind of reaction and the inner, the inner eruptions or the inner sensations. I need to go through this inner state. I need an environment that will facilitate these things to come out inside of me. So I need to be in an environment which is actively working towards this. And then through this active work, then I begin to get sensations. This is why working in the 10 is crucial, because if I'm not in this counter work with the friends, I'm not going to get any feelings, right? So if I was on a mountaintop meditating with a staff in my hand, I'm going to feel good, but I'm not really going to discover anything bad, because the bad is discovered in between people. Right, that's where egoism is discovered. So if I'm doing all kinds of stuff on my own and trying to get out of my egoism, I don't have a place to measure it. So in order for me to measure how much I cannot connect or how much I do not consider other people, in order to see that, I need to first try to care, try to take others into consideration. So that effort in trying to do it is then going to raise inside of me the question, well, wait a minute, why do I need to care for these guys anyway? I want to get spiritual with the Creator. Why do I need these guys, right? So immediately, I need to make a good move, a correct action. And if I do a correct action, I'll immediately have the opposite of that, opposite of that state will immediately kind of come up, pop up. So if I try to love somebody, I will immediately begin to see why I don't love that person. But if I'm not making an effort to love somebody, I'm not going to see that. Does that make sense? It needs to be two opposite states. So if I want to attain something, and I'm going towards that, I'm going to discover things that are stopping me from being that. Same with corporeality as well, right? If I want to be a good businessman, let's say, or if I want to be an athlete, what am I going to do? I'm going to start training, right? What am I going to discover when I start training? I'm going to start discovering where my body's weak points are. It's exactly how it is in corporeality as well. If I want to be a good businessman, if I want to run my business well, the more I'm working on it, I'm discovering the obstacles, right? So in the company, I've got to take care of that. In the company, I've got to take care of that. So this happens with everything. Whatever I want to be good at, I'm going to start seeing things where I'm failing so I can fix them to be good. Same in spirituality. So if the Kabbalists are explaining to us, listen, the only way to get out of yourself and to discover a new reality is by reducing your self-importance or egoism and increasing the importance of others, then I start making an effort towards that. And then I'm going to see my nature is obstructing me to do that. Then I'm left in a dilemma. And that's when what Sean said a minute ago comes into play. What am I going to do? I'm going to have to turn to something in order to get out of it. That's called a prayer. Otherwise, there's no other way to do it. I have to have two opposite states, and I've got to be right in between in a well, I don't want to call it helpless, but it is helplessness, right? At the end of the day, because we can't change our nature. So I'm stuck with it. So in order for me to change it, I'm going to have to get some help, just like kids ask us for help when they can't do something, right? Because it's beyond them. So they drag us along and they get us to do something for them. Same here, we need to drag the creator into the business. And how do we do that? By increasing our desire. Because it's called, what is that? It's the law of attraction, right? You guys probably heard about law of attraction. I'm attracting what I want to attain. This is how kids grow as well. They want to attract their next level. So this is how they grow up. If they didn't have this inner urge to grow up, they'd never grow up. They'd never start walking. But this happens for them instinctively. So with us adults, it's a bit of a problem because we uninstinctively have to start working towards something that we don't really value, but we feel we should do because we've got a dot in the heart. Imagine us not having a dot in the heart. We'd never care. We'd never even think about spirituality. What's the meaning of my life? What is the meaning of my life? I want to go out and have some fun. That's the meaning of my life. And we'd be running around like everybody else. So because the dot in the heart has awakened, then we're feeling, well, what am I going to have fun with? Because there's nothing to have fun with. Because I don't feel like I'm getting fun from anything. And that's why the dot in the heart is the first spoiler of our lives, because it shows us that you're not going to get anything anyway. So this is why we kind of sit back and get depressed, because we don't feel like we're getting anywhere in life, and it's all turning into some kind of pear-shaped disaster. So what do we have to do to get out of it? We start searching. And when we come to the wisdom of Kabbalah, then we can use the environment to start, fulfilling the dot in the heart rather than our egos. And that's how, we begin to go through all the ups and downs. Because why are we going through all the ups and downs? Because we're getting slapped from one side to the other, one side to the other, one side to the other. On the one hand, we start studying the wisdom of Kabbalah, our egoism is growing. So our desire to receive is growing as well. So we want stuff, we want things in life as well. And because we study spirituality, we feel like we deserve it too. And on the other hand, we've got to kind of get above our desire to receive. So on the one hand, we're showing our egoism, our desire to receive what we're like. And on the other hand, by force, against our nature, we have to kind of go above. And this is why a lot of friends have, struggles with, because we don't understand how being in between two opposite states is the way to understand what you're going through. And this is because of the struggle, we lose a lot of friends, unfortunately, but that's the twist. in the wisdom of Kabbalah has to work. But if you look at life in general, this is how life works with everything. There's nothing new. So the wisdom of Kabbalah, this is why they call it, studying the laws of nature. It works exactly the same way. Our only problem is we don't know what we're going to get because we haven't seen an example. And if we had seen an example, we'd be going after it just like an egoist as well. We'd be going after it just like an egoist. Why? Because if I want to be an athlete, I understand I'm going to get, money, I'm going to get honor. I know what I'm going to get, so I can work for it. But with spirituality, we don't know what we're going to get. The only thing they're telling us is you're going to feel great if you love others. And only who's going to buy that? All right, so it's difficult for us to get over it. All right, but this is why we have to go above reason. This is why he's saying a person needs to go above reason and move in that direction. And the only way to do that is with the friends. He doesn't talk about the environment here because he's just talking about the two discernments. And it all boils down to, once again in this article as well, it all boils down to what I make important for myself. Okay, this is why a lot of people don't become good athletes either. Now, you don't get a Michael Jordan every Monday. You get one every few, years. All right, why? Because he, worked hard for it. Okay, so same with any musician as well. Like you don't get a Michael Jackson every now and then. He actually used to. I watched a documentary on him. He would actually go to the stage and check out every lighting as well, every detail. It wasn't just the singing or the dancing. He would get in there, he would check everything himself. He'd say, turn that light on, turn this light on, I want to see this, I want to see that. And that's why, because he's got passion for it. Same with anyone who's successful. They're not chasing the money, they're chasing the passion they've got for it. So if we begin to work in that way as well, we're not chasing the money, not chasing what we're going to get. We're going to, chase the desire for spirituality, the passion for spirituality. That's what we need to build. And that's the importance which I can get from the friends, because, there's no other way I'm going to get importance of bestowal in my life, not as an egoist, no way. Even more in spirituality, if we advance in spirituality as well, I'm still going to need the environment. In fact, even more. Because the more I'm advancing in spirituality, the more I'm discovering my egoism. So I'm needing extra strength. So initially, right, when we first have this good vibe and energy, when we come to the wisdom of Kabbalah, that's all initially. That's all in the beginning. Because once you start getting into the work and you start to understand, it begins to dawn on you, that becoming that athlete, that champion isn't so easy. So this is why a lot of people drop off. Or same here. That becoming that bestowal, becoming that new person feels like, well, wait a minute, do I really want this? So this is why we have very few people who are really successful in life as well. If you think about 8 billion people, right, so you're always getting one or few people who make history. Just a dozen of them more in every generation, right? It's not like everybody's making the headlines. And this is how it works with everything. So it's the environment, it's the motivation, it's the importance that we constantly have to work on as a group. And that's how we can always hold the rod in our hands. What does that essentially mean? Actually, that means the desire to keep moving forward. Because along the way, we're always going to make mistakes, just like anybody is, doing something in corporeal reality as well. The important thing is just to keep going and trotting along. So we've got to be like Edison, it's going to take us 1,000 light bulbs before one starts working, right? Until that one starts working, we've pretty much blown up 1,000 of them. And that's just how it is. It's the nature of life. And if we have the patience and the persistence, which we can get from the friends, then it'll be a walk in the park. All right. Otherwise, no motivation. All right. And this is what the serpent and the staff is all about. All right. So we're just going to have to choose that. And that means choosing the group. So if I want to choose the staff all the time, I'm going to choose the environment, which gives me some opportunity at least to take a step forward. A little bit here, a little bit there. I add a little bit here, a little bit there. And, take those little baby steps, and then we start running as we develop more and more. It's exactly how corporeality is. All right. So, dear friends, I think we've made that was a quick 1 hour, wasn't it? Or is it me? It's probably me because I'm talking all the time. All right. I need you guys to ask questions with the mics on so we can hear your voices as well. All right. So until next Tuesday, hugs. Have a great night. See you guys next week. All the best. Bye-bye.